Hina once thought it would be better if Shuen, the villain she hated, would simply disappear. In the present, Lady Kaname desperately clings to him, demanding he acknowledge her as his fiancée. Shuen coldly orders her to step back, declaring she isn't what he wants before pushing her away. His intense, beast-like gaze then finds Hina. He announces that the one he truly desires is her, pulling her into a sudden embrace. As Hina stands there in shock, Kaname's expression contorts with rage. Hina fears she's already in trouble. A dreamlike memory hits Hina with intense force. Shuen holds her captive, vowing to never let her escape. He pleads with her, asking her to let him love her. Hina feels completely overwhelmed by his fiery passion, unable to resist the burning heat of his embrace. Just as she's about to give in, she snaps back to reality. She's by the water, working as a maid. Suddenly, a gentle voice praises her hard work. It's the water country general, Lord Aoba, whose dazzling smile makes her heart flutter. Hina's heart soars as she sees him. Lord Aoba is her absolute favorite character. Forcing a smile, she congratulates him on his wedding. Aoba thanks her warmly, then tells her she can always rely on him because she's like a little sister. The words crush her spirit. She's nothing more than a sibling to him. Hina suddenly remembers the original game's plot. The heroine was supposed to use her powers, join Aoba, and defeat the villain from the Fire Country to bring peace to the world. Hina remembers her past life, where she obsessed over this very otome game. The highlight was always the romance between the heroine and the water country general, Lord Aoba. She was just a nameless maid until her memories suddenly returned. She realized the man who was so kind to her was her favorite character. Today is the game's main event, Lord Aoba's wedding to the Princess Shrine Maiden. Hina resolves to be a background character and simply celebrate their happiness. But she can't deny the painful truth, she is lonely. Hina tries to convince herself that it's fine. Seeing Aoba happy is enough. But her quiet moment is shattered when Princess Kaname's maids confront her. They viciously accuse her of making eyes at the groom on his wedding day. With a hard shove, they throw her to the ground. Before she can even protest, they lock her inside a dark shed to reflect on her actions. Defeated, Hina sinks to the floor, whispering that she just wanted to see the wedding. Suddenly, the distinct sound of rushing water echoes from the shadows. The sound of water leads Hina to a crack in the wall. She realizes it's the hidden waterway from the game, a secret path leading to the Great Hall. Though she gets soaked traveling through it, she's determined to at least get a peek at the wedding. Just as she reaches the end, a hand clamps over her mouth from behind. A man's voice warns her not to move unless she wants to be burned by his flames. Hina freezes in terror, recognizing the game's ultimate villain, Fire Country General Shuen. He coldly asks how a maid knows about the waterways. Shuen smirks, telling the terrified Hina that following her was the right move. Her mind races in panic. This is the game's main villain, ruthless battle maniac who shouldn't appear until much later in the story. This wild development was never part of the original game. Meanwhile, inside, Aoba shares a quiet moment with his new bride, Princess Kaname. He holds her close but suddenly pulls away, grabbing his bow. He promises it will be over soon. He just has to take care of a fire rat outside. A massive arrow of pure water erupts from Aoba's bow, but Shuen's flaming sword shatters it in a burst of steam. Aoba coldly greets the fire general, asking why he has intruded on his wedding night. Shuen retorts that he only came to take back something important that was stolen from him. Aoba feigns ignorance until his eyes land on the terrified maid behind his rival. Shocked, he calls out Hina's name. He furiously accuses Shuen of using her as a hostage and demands that he hand her over immediately. But Aoba's new bride, Kaname, decides to step in. She declares her intent to wipe out the intruder in one swift move. Aoba panics, yelling that Hina is standing right next to the enemy. Ignoring his concern, Kaname uses her spiritual power, granting Aoba the wrath of water. With his bride's blessing, he summons a colossal spear of pure magic, ready to strike. Hina watches in terror, completely overwhelmed by the power surge. Shuen just scoffs at the display, asking the terrified maid if Aoba's little light show made her legs give out. A glowing magical seal appears above Hina, declaring this her punishment. But as the attack barrels down, Hina closes her eyes, thinking it's an honor to be taken out by her favorite character's ultimate move. Shuen is disgusted by her absurd loyalty to his enemy. Calling her a fool, he suddenly spins around, shielding her with his own body. Hina watches in absolute shock. She awakens later to the cold clink of shackles on her ankles. Nearby, Shuen is also restrained, explaining that his own people now think she's a spy who guided the enemy in. A new figure, the Princess Shrine Maiden, glides onto the scene aboard a ceremonial boat. She announces it's time for a sacred ritual. With a serene smile, she declares that the criminals are present. First, she names Shuen, the flame general who attacked the castle. Then, her gaze falls on the terrified maid, accusing Hina of being the traitor who guided him. The princess proclaims she will entrust their judgment to the water god. As she turns away, she whispers a chilling goodbye, thinking that Lord Aoba will now look only at her. The princess shrine maiden announces she will throw offerings to the water god. With that, a sealed barrel is unceremoniously dumped into the ocean. Hina is jolted awake by a voice urging her to get up. Her eyes snap open to find herself in a dark, cramped space, face to face with Shuen. Confused, she asks where they are, remembering they were supposed to be in prison. Shuen grimly explains they were drugged and set adrift at sea inside this very barrel. This, he concludes, is their grotesque execution, the water god's judgment. Inside the cramped barrel, Hina realizes they've judged her as a criminal. Suddenly, a hairpin in her hair glows brightly, catching Shuen's eye. He demands she hand over the magical item, but before she can react, the barrel cracks and water bursts in. With no time to waste, Shuen shatters their wooden prison with his bare hands. He smirks, telling her to pray to her water god. As a native of that kingdom, she might just survive. Hina is plunged into the icy depths, feeling utterly helpless as she sinks. As Hina sinks, a strange feeling washes over her. Though she's never swum in this life, her body moves with instinct. A memory surfaces. She was a researcher of the sea, a diver. She's in her element. But then she sees Shuen, a man of fire, helpless in the water. For a moment, she hesitates. Letting him go would help Lord Aoba. But she can't. He just saved her life. Deciding she must repay her debt, Hina swims to the sinking general and takes his hand, pulling him close. As Shuen loses consciousness, he sees a vision of a legendary sea maiden, a beautiful mermaid princess ruling the water. Hina finally breaks the surface, gasping for air while desperately holding onto him. By a stroke of luck, they're found by a Fire Nation ship. But on deck, relief turns to panic. The soldiers realize their general isn't breathing. One man grabs Hina, furiously accusing the woman from the Water Kingdom of attacking their leader. As the crew scrambles, Hina struggles against his grip, demanding he let her go. Knowing every second counts, Hina shoves the soldier away. If Shuen's brain loses oxygen, it's all over. Recalling her past life's training, she begins CPR. The crew stares in shock as she gives their general 2 rescue breaths. One man shouts, demanding to know what she's doing. Ignoring him, she starts chest compressions, desperately pleading for him to wake up. Suddenly, Shuen sputters and gasps for air. The soldiers erupt in cheers, proclaiming that the mermaid from the Water Kingdom breathed life back into him. Finally, Hina collapses in relief. Hina wakes up to the sound of waves. When her eyes flutter open, she finds General Shuen staring right at her. Her first thought is relief. He's breathing normally and seems okay. Shuen thanks her for saving his life, calling her the legendary mermaid from the sea. He asks for her name. She corrects him, introducing herself as Hina and reminding him that he rescued her, too. When she calls him General, he stops her. He declares that since she saved him, she is his benefactor, and they will now speak as equals. Shuen reveals his real reason for infiltrating enemy territory, to reclaim his betrothed. Hina is stunned. He explains he has a fiancée, a princess he's only known through letters, who was taken by the Water Kingdom over a year ago. With a rare vulnerability, Shuen admits she is everything to him, the woman who gave his aimless life purpose. Hina is floored. The game painted him as a baseless warmonger, but this changes everything. As she processes the truth, a sudden, shocking realization begins to dawn on her. Hina's mind flashes back to the game. She remembers the unpopular Shuen route, where players could romance the arrogant general. In his story, the fiercely loyal men of the Flame Kingdom only love one woman. His entire quest was to reclaim his betrothed, the Shrine Maiden Princess, Lady Kaname. The pieces click into place. Hina hesitantly asks if his fiancée is the princess. Shuen grabs her hand, stunned, demanding to know if they're the same person. He realizes the rumors about the Shrine Maiden started right when his fiancée disappeared. It all adds up. Shuen realizes the full extent of Aoba's treachery, questioning if the general stole his fiancée just to marry her himself. Grabbing Hina's hand, he declares he will return to the Water Kingdom. He has a new plan. Hina will use her unique swimming skills to infiltrate the capital through its underground waterways. But Hina, loyal to Aoba, refuses to betray him and tells Shuen to ask someone else. His expression darkens. He grabs her face, his eyes blazing as he demands to know if she's in love with his rival. Shuen's patience snaps. He leans in close, his voice a low growl. If she's refusing because of Aoba, then he will simply force her to cooperate. Hina reels back, shocked. She challenges him, questioning how he could threaten the very person who saved his life. Is this how a general who protects the weak is supposed to act? His harsh expression melts into a confident smirk. He changes his tactic completely. Fine, he won't use force. Instead, he declares he'll make her want to help him willingly. Stunned into silence, Hina can only ask how. A sly smirk plays on Shuen's lips. Hina is stunned by his sudden change, realizing she is completely outmatched. His mind drifts to her trembling form. Her challenging words about protecting the weak echo in his head, a perfect mirror of what his lost princess once told him. Meanwhile, in the Flame Kingdom Palace, a furious nobleman, Shuen's father, roars from his throne. He calls his son a fool for taking matters into his own hands and acting without permission. Shuen's father demands to know what his son is playing at, but Shuen isn't fazed. He calmly explains his mission was a success, giving them crucial intel on the Water Kingdom's military and its secret waterways. His father interrupts with shocking news. The princess's family has broken off their engagement, believing she is dead. This revelation shatters Shuen's composure. He clenches his fist and roars that the princess is alive. Consumed by a new rage, he orders his men to bring them here. A line of women is brought forward, leaving Hina completely bewildered. Shuen's father unveils a line of noble ladies, giving his son a ruthless ultimatum. Shuen must choose a wife and produce an heir, or he will be disinherited. This would destroy any chance of reuniting with his lost princess. With a cruel grin, his father orders him to pick from the women presented. Trapped and seething with anger, Shuen's gaze lands on Hina, who stands frozen nearby. In a shocking move, he grabs her arm and yanks her forward, declaring that if he must choose, he's taking her. Hina is completely floored, stammering at Shuen's declaration. But as she watches him defy his powerful father, it all clicks. This isn't about her. He's doing this to stay loyal to his lost fiancée. This is just a marriage of convenience. A new resolve hardens in her eyes. This is her chance to stop the attack on the Water Kingdom. Stepping forward, Hina announces she will become his wife. Shuen's father smirks, realizing she's the mermaid princess who saved his son. He declares that this arrangement will do just fine. Shuen's father isn't finished. With a wicked grin, he demands Shuen prove his resolve by completing the first night ceremony tonight. This is a deadly trap. He declares that since Hina is from the enemy kingdom, if their union isn't properly sealed, she will be executed as a spy. A terrified Hina asks what the ceremony is, but Shuen's grim silence is the only answer. Alone in their chambers, the crushing weight of his father's ultimatum hangs between them, turning their fake marriage into a life-or-death test. Hina's blood runs cold. She realizes the only way to avoid execution is to make the ceremony succeed. Suddenly, Shuen storms toward her, his face a mask of desperation. He grabs her and pleads for her help. Before Hina can even process his words, he pulls her into a fierce, unyielding kiss. Stunned, she demands to know what he's doing, but he ignores her protests, pushing her back onto the bed. This is the Flame Kingdom's binding tradition, a vulgar wedding ceremony that has become their only chance at survival. Shuen explains the grim details of the ceremony. They must enter a portable shrine and prove their union before everyone. A heart lantern is the key. Its flames flare up as their heart rates rise. The ritual only ends when the fire reaches its peak. If they fail, she will be executed. He tells her that if she doesn't want to die, she must simply pretend. Terrified but determined to survive, Hina agrees. As he holds her close, whispering for her not to run, her mind goes fuzzy, and her body begins to melt under his touch. Hina sees the pained look on Shuen's face. She knows this is wrong. He has a fiancé, and her heart belongs to someone else. Sensing her conflict, Shuen makes a desperate suggestion, whispering for her to just pretend he is Aoba. Behind the shrine's paper screen, their silhouettes move as one. Suddenly, the heart lantern outside erupts into a massive pillar of flame. The crowd roars in approval, amazed by their general's power. But inside, the overwhelming intensity leaves Hina feeling dizzy and sore, the sham ceremony taking a very real toll. Hina's heart pounds so hard she can't breathe. This feeling is terrifyingly familiar. It's the memory of her past life, of drowning deep in the dark water as everything was taken away. But this isn't enough for Shuen. He senses the fire for the ritual is still too weak. He desperately pushes her to let go and lose herself completely in the moment. With a ragged breath, he calls out her name, his voice cutting through her hazy consciousness as the world around them becomes a blur of flowers and falling feathers. With the ritual a stunning success, an elder figure, Shuen's father, publicly acknowledges Hina as the mermaid princess and wife of the Flame General. The crowd roars, believing this union has secured their kingdom's future. A palanquin is brought out for the couple's first night. Shuen turns to Hina, noticing she's swaying unsteadily. He gently holds her, asking if she's okay. Leaning against him for support, Hina admits she's just a little dizzy. The overwhelming sham of a ceremony has left her completely drained, body and soul. Hina flushes bright red, suddenly overwhelmed by the hundreds of piercing eyes on her. The public spectacle is mortifying. Just as she's about to shrink away, Shuen steps in front of her, his voice a low command. He orders the crowd not to stare at his wife and to step back immediately. Then, he gently drapes his own robe over her shoulders, shielding her from view. Hina is completely stunned by this unexpected display of consideration. A few days later, he finds her and simply tells her it's time to go, leading her to an unknown destination. Their quiet moment is shattered when a soldier sprints towards them, calling out for the general. Shuen's eyes narrow as he demands an explanation. The soldier, panting for breath, drops a bombshell. The Water Kingdom's army is on the move. The news is so shocking that for a second, no one speaks. His voice dangerously low, Shuen orders the man to repeat what he just said. The scene shifts instantly to a grim war council. Hina now sits at the table with Shuen, Aoba, and Lady Kaname, thrown directly into the heart of the conflict. Hina's heart sinks as she looks at Aoba. He won't even meet her gaze, making her feel like a complete traitor. Ignoring her, Aoba gets straight to business, confronting Shuen directly. He announces that he has come to hold the Fire Nation accountable for their recent attack and demands to know how they plan to take responsibility. Shuen scoffs, mentioning the Water Kingdom's law about cleansing sins with water. With flames erupting around him, he declares their laws only apply to their own citizens. The message is clear. He doesn't answer to them. Aoba reminds Shuen that he should have been eliminated for the attack, claiming he only escaped thanks to the Water Kingdom's mercy. The Princess Shrine Maiden smugly notes that he appears to be in good health. As if on cue, Shuen's father comments on how useful the daughter from the Water Kingdom has been. Hina freezes, realizing he's calling her a spy. Aoba drives his point home, declaring that marrying the princess left even the Flame General helpless. With the tension at its peak, he makes a bold proposal to the Fire Nation. Aoba reveals his grand proposal, a stronger alliance. He slides a scroll across the table, laying out his conditions for peace. Shuen's eyes blaze with fury as he reads the insulting terms. Before he can react, the Princess Shrine Maiden smugly clarifies their position. She declares that the Water Kingdom wishes to place the entire Flame Nation under its protection. It's a thinly veiled threat of total takeover. She warns them to accept quickly, before the storm of their water god sweeps them all away. Aoba announces he'll be staying to negotiate. Shuen's father slams his hand on the table, roaring that these conditions are a demand for surrender, not an alliance. As the elders debate, Lady Kaname realizes the Water Kingdom's newfound confidence is a direct result of Shuen's marriage to Hina. Another noble suggests they should just seize the princess, but Shuen's father explodes. He calls the man a fool and blames his son's reckless attack for this mess. He declares that while he will try to negotiate, they have no choice but to accept the Water Kingdom's humiliating terms. Shuen's father glares at Hina, demanding to know how a mere servant can read diplomatic documents, and accusing her of being a spy. Before a terrified Hina can speak, Shuen grabs her hand, firmly declaring she is not a spy. Unmoved, his father slams an ancient document onto the table. He reveals it's a prophecy passed down through the 5 elemental tribes. It foretells that if a child is born from the union of flame and water, their offspring will possess a power the world has never seen before. Shuen's father reveals the prophecy's shocking conclusion: a child with immense power will be born from their union. His eyes blaze with conviction as he declares that he will never let his kingdom fall. He then gives Shuen and Hina an unbelievable command. They must produce an heir, no matter the cost. Completely stunned, Hina whispers Shuen's name in disbelief, asking what he plans to do. Without a word, Shuen turns and strides away into the rainy night, his expression grim and unreadable, leaving Hina to face the weight of their new fate alone. Meanwhile, the Princess Shrine Maiden shares a private moment with General Aoba, whispering his name. But as she lies awake afterwards, she realizes he didn't stay with her until the end. A cold fury builds inside her. She understands his distance is because of Hina. The princess's eyes glow with a dangerous light, seeing Hina as the one obstacle standing between her and Aoba's heart. With chilling conviction, she decides this rival must be eliminated, no matter what it takes. Her sweet demeanor vanishes, replaced by a deadly resolve. Under the dim moonlight, Shuen drinks alone, stewing over his father's outrageous command. He senses the presence of his father's watchman nearby and scowls, recognizing the pressure he's under. A quiet footstep breaks the silence as Hina enters the room they are now forced to share. He says nothing, leaving her to wonder what's going through his mind. While Hina understands the king's desperate motivations for an heir, she comes to a quiet, firm resolution. Whatever the prophecy says, she will not be the one to bear Shuen's child. As Hina processes her new reality, she recalls the original game's plot. The true protagonist was Lady Kaname, destined to marry the hero, General Aoba. In that story, Shuen was simply the villain, a tyrant who lost everything. Hina wonders if Lady Kaname is only pretending not to remember Shuen because she despises him so much. As this thought crosses her mind, a loud crash shatters the silence. Consumed by unspoken rage, Shuen hurls his cup, and it explodes against the far wall, leaving Hina frozen in place. Before Hina can react, Shuen closes the distance, yanking her into his arms. He crashes his lips against hers in a fierce, unexpected kiss. Completely blindsided, Hina's mind goes blank. She pushes away slightly, demanding to know why he's suddenly doing this. She asks if he's actually going through with his father's command to produce an heir. Her thoughts race, recalling his supposed faithfulness to his fiancée. Desperate for answers, and seeing the wild look in his eyes, she questions if he's drunk. Shuen ignores her cries, his grip tightening as he completely overpowers her. Hina begs him to stop, but her words don't reach him. He's not himself. A horrifying thought strikes her as she remembers the spilled drink. What if something was put in his alcohol? He is far too strong for her to fight back. In a desperate panic, her eyes dart around the room, locking onto a heavy vase on a nearby table. It's her only chance to get away from the out-of-control general. As Shuen's grip tightens, a crucial game memory flashes through Hina's mind. The original heroine once used a special item called the Flower of the Clear Heart to calm rampaging soldiers. Seeing her only chance, Hina lunges for the nearby vase and shatters it on the floor. In a shocking twist of fate, the very same magical flower was hidden inside. It breaks apart, releasing a potent, sweet aroma. The scent washes over Shuen, and the violent haze in his crimson eyes begins to clear. He freezes, caught off guard by the calming fragrance. The flower's calming scent isn't working fast enough. Hina realizes there's only one way to stop him. Making a split-second decision, she closes the distance and kisses him herself. It's a desperate act to save them both. As she does, the magical essence from the flower petals flows directly into him. The potent energy works instantly. The wild haze in Shuen's crimson eyes fades, replaced by pure confusion. He pulls back, completely dazed, and looks down at the woman in his arms, wondering what just happened. Shuen, now fully in control, apologizes for his unsettling behavior. He explains that the flower's scent snapped him out of it. But a new question hangs in the air. He suspiciously asks how a Water Kingdom maid knows about a rare flower that only grows in his homeland. Hina panics, quickly saying she read about it in a book while managing the library. A slight smile crosses Shuen's face as he looks at the flower. He quietly admits that thanks to her knowledge, she has managed to save him once again. Shuen sincerely thanks Hina, leaving her completely stunned. She realizes there's another side to the fearsome general, one that isn't just violent and tyrannical. Snapping out of her surprise, Hina remembers she has something to thank him for as well. She tells him she's grateful he defended her honor and declared she wasn't a spy. A sly smile plays on Shuen's lips as he leans closer. He looks her in the eye and quietly states his unwavering intention. He will only have a child with his one true fiancée. Shuen explains his true motives. He's constantly dodging his father's meddling, so they must continue the charade of trying for an heir. He asks for Hina's cooperation, and she reluctantly agrees. Then he drops a bombshell. His real goal in the Water Kingdom is to make Aoba and the Princess Shrine Maiden divorce. He needs her help, promising it will benefit her as well. Hina's mind races. If Shuen marries Lady Kaname instead, not only will she finally be free, but Aoba's happiness will be completely shattered. Shuen quietly admits that her assessment isn't wrong. Hina's mind races, flashing back to memories of the kind and gentle Aoba she once admired from afar. The man she remembers is nothing like the one Shuen has described. Torn between her past admiration and her current reality, she makes a decision. She tells the ruthless general that she needs him to wait. Before she can agree to his dangerous plan, she must first speak with Aoba herself to uncover the truth of the situation. Hina arrives at the Water Kingdom barracks, determined to meet Aoba, but the entrance is heavily guarded. It seems her mission won't be easy. Suddenly, a loud crash from inside startles her. Cautiously peeking around the corner, she witnesses a shocking scene. An injured man sits on the ground, ordering the Water Kingdom people to leave. Towering over him is Aoba, his expression icy and merciless. Hina freezes in disbelief. She has never seen this side of him before. The gentle general she admired is nowhere to be found. As Aoba prepares a devastating water attack, Hina screams for him to stop. Before she can intervene, Shuen appears, blocking her path. He effortlessly deflects the blast, and a massive explosion of fire and water erupts between the generals. Shuen icily asks if the Water Kingdom's way is to silence the weak with power. Aoba's men protest, but he silences them with a hand. He tells Shuen he'll drop the matter out of respect, but warns him to keep his subordinates on a tighter leash before departing with the princess. After the intense showdown, the injured soldier apologizes to Hina and Shuen. He explains that a fight broke out because other men were bad-mouthing the general. The gossip about Hina was even worse. They called her a traitor who should have been executed for marrying into the Fire Nation. Hearing this, Shuen sternly tells her to ignore them. He steps forward and gently cups her face, his touch pulling her from her thoughts. Against the cold, piercing words of her former countrymen, his hand feels unbelievably warm, a small comfort in the chaos. Later, Hina meets Lady Kaname in a beautiful garden, an encounter Hina hoped would shed light on Aoba's behavior. Kaname greets her with a smile, but her words are laced with venom. She offers fake congratulations on Hina becoming Shuen's consort, then snidely comments on her impressive jump from General Aoba to General Shuen. Kaname calls Hina's determination to chase powerful men almost admirable. Hina is stunned, trying to deny the accusations, but the noble lady cuts her off, stating she has a specific reason for summoning her here today. Lady Kaname's smile turns venomous as she reveals why she summoned Hina. With pure malice, she declares how much she hates her. The confession hits Hina hard. She knew Kaname disliked her, but hearing it so bluntly from the game's supposedly kind heroine makes her tremble. Fighting back her fear, Hina says that's fine, but she has a question. She demands to know why General Aoba has been acting so strangely, realizing his earlier confrontation was a thinly veiled demand for the Fire Nation's surrender. Hina's mind races, unable to connect the harsh surrender terms with the man she once knew. She remembers General Aoba's gentle dream, to build a country without war through honest dialogue. This aggressive power play feels wrong. Lady Kaname's smile turns cruel as she mocks Hina for acting like she understands him, stating it's precisely why she can't be forgiven. Then comes the shocking claim. Holding a sacred item, Kaname declares that she purified the evil within Aoba's heart. The word hangs in the air, a familiar game mechanic that leaves Hina completely stunned. Hina is baffled. She recalls that purification is only meant for people who harm others. Lady Kaname agrees, then reveals her twisted logic. She explains that while hating conflict is fine for a servant, for a general like Aoba, it's a weakness, a sin. Kaname proudly declares that through her purification, she removed that evil from him. She reborn him into a perfect general, one who can survive the brutal age of war. The horrible truth crashes down on Hina. Furious, she screams, demanding to know why Kaname would do something so monstrous. Hina is stunned, realizing Kaname's purification is just a pretty word for brainwashing. Suddenly, Lady Kaname's composure breaks, and she screams that this is all Hina's fault. Fueled by a venomous jealousy, she accuses Hina of using her looks to play with both General Aoba and General Shuen. She rages that even after changing him, Aoba still won't give her the time of day. Leaning in close, Kaname whispers a chilling threat, declaring that Hina is the true villain and will forever be branded a traitorous criminal. Furious at Kaname's twisted logic, Hina runs, desperate to find a way to fix this mess. She knows General Aoba isn't the type to be easily swayed, and her heart breaks at Kaname's lack of trust. Suddenly, she trips and crashes to the ground. Before she can get up, two menacing men corner her. They mock her as the Fire General's wife, spreading vile rumors that she used her body to win over both Aoba and Shuen. With a disgusting smirk, one of them reaches for her, eager for a taste. Hina panics as the men grab her, her pleas dying in her throat. Fear grips her, realizing she's trapped. Just as one of them lunges, a shimmering blue arrow slices through the air, narrowly missing his face. The men scream and stumble backward, scrambling away from the sudden attack. Shaken, Hina looks up to see her rescuer. Her eyes widen in shock. It's General Aoba. He stands over her with a calm expression as she stares up at him, whispering his name in utter disbelief. She immediately apologizes, overwhelmed with gratitude and embarrassment. Kneeling on the ground, Hina looks up at her savior, her voice trembling with immense gratitude as she thanks him. Lord Aoba's expression is calm and unreadable. He silently helps her to her feet before gently draping his own outer robe over her shoulders to cover her. The unexpected warmth floods her with relief. Clutching the fabric, Hina thinks to herself that she knew it all along. This single act of kindness confirms her belief that he is a truly good person, despite everything she's heard. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Hina remembers Aoba's past kindness, convinced the good man she once knew is still inside him. She starts to thank him, but he cuts her off. His expression twists into a cold smirk as he tells her it seems the rumors were true. With a chilling gaze, he accuses her of using her body to ensnare the Fire Nation general. Hina freezes, her relief shattering into pure shock. The hero from moments ago is now throwing the same vile accusations at her, leaving her utterly speechless and confused. Aoba's voice drips with pure contempt as he leans in closer, questioning if any man with high status was good enough for her. Hina stammers, completely speechless at his cruel words. Pulling herself together, she weakly insists that she never tried to charm anyone. Her mind reels. How could the man she admired say something so vile? The cruel accusation is too much to bear. Completely shattered by his words, Hina turns and flees into the forest, leaving her former hero standing alone in the clearing. As soon as Hina disappears from sight, Aoba collapses to his knees, clutching his head in agony. He's clearly fighting an intense internal battle. Through gritted teeth, he mutters for Hina to run away from him. His expression twists, his eyes glowing with a dangerous light as he warns her to flee before he completely breaks her. As Hina runs for her life, the scene is splattered with blood. Watching from afar, the Princess Shrine Maiden wonders if his cruel words were merely a side effect of the purification. Hina's mind flashes with another betrayal, wondering how Lady Kaname could do this, but she quickly blames herself for being just as bad. She was so terrified by Aoba's cruelty that she fled without a second thought. Her desperate escape leads her to a familiar place from the game, a sacred hot spring. Remembering it was a safe haven for the heroine, Hina figures the Fire Nation soldiers wouldn't dare come near the water. Seeking to wash away her heavy heart, she finally steps into the serene pool. Sinking into the sacred hot spring, Hina feels an incredible sense of comfort. The warmth seeps into her bones, reminding her of her past life as a diver. Back then, the sea was her sanctuary. Just like before, the water washes away her turmoil, clearing her clouded heart. A new resolve takes root. She still has her swimming skills and her insider knowledge of the game. Hina decides she won't be a background character anymore, unlike the game's intended heroines, the Princess Shrine Maiden and Lady Kaname. Hina recalls the game's original storyline. Lady Kaname was supposed to appear in the Water Country, where Lord Aoba would be captivated by her powerful prayer songs. After solving incidents together and deepening their bond, they would marry. But their peace would be shattered when Lord Shuen kidnapped Kaname. To get his happy ending, Aoba had to journey to the Fire Nation alone to defeat the villain. Hina realizes that while she's on Aoba's route, her presence has already changed things. Shuen has appeared much earlier than expected. Hina thinks back to a crucial game event. Lady Kaname was meant to purify Lord Aoba. Instead, a furious memory of Kaname surfaces, accusing Hina of bewitching the general and messing up the story. While Hina knows the war is the root of all bad endings, she's determined to find a happy outcome for everyone. Above all, she wants Aoba to be happy. In the original story, he found love with Kaname, but because of Hina, he's now a cold, hardened general, a fate she refuses to accept as happiness. Hina thinks about love. Real love is about giving and fulfilling each other, but robbing someone of their will, like Lady Kaname does, is something else entirely, a twisted form of control. Hina refuses to let such a tragedy happen to Lord Aoba. She apologizes to him in her heart, knowing her actions might cause him future sadness. But her mind is made up. She's going to force Lady Kaname onto the villain's route with Lord Shuen. It's a drastic move, but she's determined to see it through to protect Aoba's happiness. As Hina walked through the estate, she noted how late it had become. Suddenly, she heard voices drifting from around the corner. Cautiously, she peeked out from behind a screen, her eyes widening in disbelief. It was Lord Shuen, and standing close beside him was Lady Kaname. The noble lady gazed up at the fearsome general, her face flushed with a dazed look of adoration. Hina was stunned. This was her plan in action, the villain and the would-be heroine together. But seeing it unfold was more jarring than she could have ever imagined. A few hours earlier, General Shuen sat buried in his work. An attendant suddenly brought up Hina, wondering why the mermaid princess hadn't visited. Shuen's father immediately sneered, accusing her of being all talk and suggesting she was probably with General Aoba. That was the wrong thing to say. The air in the room went cold. Cutting his father off, Shuen declared the topic unpleasant and ordered everyone to leave. Without another glance, the fearsome general stormed out of the room, his face a mask of cold fury. Still fuming, Lord Shuen stormed through the corridors of his estate, his robe billowing behind him. He rounded a corner and stopped dead in his tracks. The Princess Shrine Maiden stood before him, holding a sacred scepter adorned with golden bells. Shuen's crimson eyes burned with cold rage as he looked at her. Without a single word, he lunged forward and snatched the artifact right out of her hands. The sudden, aggressive move left the princess momentarily stunned, her calm expression finally breaking as the bells chimed sharply in the tense air. The princess shrine maiden smiled sweetly at General Shuen, boldly asking why he was there. Before he could answer, she confessed that she had wanted to see him and tell him her feelings directly. Reaching out, she gently touched his arm, admitting she forced her servants to arrange the meeting. Shuen's eyes narrowed. He coldly stated he didn't want an alliance that would place the Flame Nation under her control. Undeterred, the princess spoke of a divine storm, hinting that a partnership with her was his only way to survive what was coming. General Shuen's expression darkens. He asks the princess if General Aoba is forcing her to do this. She calmly explains Aoba simply wants her to appear as the Water Kingdom's spiritual guide. Shuen's patience snaps. He asks if she knows he invaded her country to find his fiancée. When she confirms it, his voice turns cold. He accuses her of testing him, questioning if she truly believed he wouldn't see through her deception. Cornered, the princess drops her facade, admitting that he has already figured everything out. Shuen's voice was intense as he asked if she was truly his fiancée. Lady Kanami's face flushed. She admitted she never wanted him to discover her identity, feeling she could hardly face him in her current state. But Shuen's resolve was unbreakable. He declared that he had always been searching for his fiancée and had never forgotten her for a single moment. Taking her hand, he made a solemn promise to save her, no matter the cost. Overwhelmed by his words, she could only whisper his name in disbelief. Hiding just out of sight, Hina finally understands. So, Lady Kaname was his fiancée all along. She tries to convince herself that this is a good thing and that she shouldn't be listening. It's clear they care deeply for one another, and this is how the story is meant to play out. It's perfect. But as she turns to leave, an undeniable ache fills her chest. Clenching her fists, she desperately questions why, if everything is going according to plan, she feels so incredibly uneasy about it. Hina tries to justify the ache in her chest. She remembers Shuen's terrible treatment and Lady Kanami's awful attitude toward her. It was only natural that she'd be upset. Determined, she resolves to stop caring about them and focus on Lord Aoba instead. Needing some air, Hina steps onto a quiet balcony, but she's not alone. A powerful-looking man, Shuen's father, spots her from across the way. He coldly identifies her as the mermaid from the Water Kingdom. From his dismissive tone, Hina knows he doesn't truly acknowledge her. She bows her head and offers a formal greeting. Shuen's father scoffs, telling Hina that if she wants to fix his mood, she should fulfill her duty as a wife. He then furiously demands that she bear a child for the family line. Stunned into silence, Hina can only lower her head and quietly agree. As he leaves, she stands alone, sighing under the immense pressure. She reassures herself that this is all temporary. Once Lady Kaname and Shuen are properly together, her role will be over. Then, she can finally end this fake relationship and escape this place for good. A maid suddenly appears, informing Hina that Lord Shuen has summoned her. Confused, Hina follows the servant down a long, dark staircase, deep underground. As they descend, the air grows frigid, sending a shiver down her spine. The maid finally stops, gesturing forward and explaining that Shuen is waiting inside. Hina looks up, her heart dropping as she realizes they're at a prison cell. Completely bewildered by the strange meeting place, she cautiously asks where her husband is, a deep sense of unease taking root. Without warning, the maid shoves Hina violently from behind. Hina cries out, stumbling forward and crashing onto the cold floor of the prison cell. The servant's friendly mask shatters, revealing a twisted, hateful sneer. She accuses Hina of being a traitor to her own kingdom, hissing that a backstabber will always betray. With a crazed look in her eyes, the maid declares that getting rid of Hina is the best thing she can do for Lord Shuen. The heavy door then slams shut, plunging Hina into darkness. Shuen stands on the balcony, lost in thought. He reflects that Hina had been right about something important. His mind then drifts to the woman he had always been searching for, revealing it was the Shrine Maiden Princess of the Water Kingdom. He opens a box filled with the many letters they had secretly exchanged over the years. Unfolding a familiar note, he reads her message congratulating him on his promotion to general. This secret connection proves his heart had belonged to another long before Hina ever entered his life. As Shuen rereads the familiar letter, the Shrine Maiden's words fill his mind. She reminded him that a general's duty is to protect the weak and that this created a bond of mutual support with his people. The princess also gave him a gentle warning, expressing her concern that his powerful words were too easily misunderstood by others. Her letter was a mix of admiration and guidance, revealing a deep connection where she helped shape the man he became long before he ever met his new wife, Hina. The princess's letter concludes with a prayer to support him at his side soon. Shuen thinks to himself that she always saw right through him. Suddenly, Hina's voice echoes in his memory, challenging him with the exact same words about a general's duty. He's stunned by the strange coincidence. Back in the present, he calls out, asking if Hina has returned. When he's told she's nowhere to be found, a flicker of worry crosses his face. He clenches his jaw, wondering if she could possibly be lost inside the palace. Shuen's search is cut short by an unwelcome voice. It's his father, who steps out from the shadows with a smug grin. He asks Shuen if his gift was useful, clearly talking about Hina. His father then mocks him, questioning his relationship with the Little Mermaid. Before Shuen can react, a guard runs up in a total panic, shouting that Hina is missing. All of Shuen's previous worry explodes into raw fear. He grabs the man by his robes, desperately demanding to know when and where she was last seen. Shuen's father simply smirks, completely unbothered by the chaos. Far away, Hina shivers alone, trapped in a dark, freezing shed. The memory of a traitorous servant's face flashes in her mind. She finally understood. Any kindness shown to her in the Fire Nation had been a complete lie. As the biting cold seeped into her bones, sheer panic took over. She threw herself against the locked door, desperately screaming for anyone to help her before it was too late. Huddled in the freezing shed, Lady Kanami's cruel words echoed in Hina's mind. No matter what, she was still just a traitor. Looking back, all she'd ever faced was rejection from everyone around her. She began to think her disappearance would be what was best for Shuen. As despair washed over her, the feeling of dying alone felt hauntingly familiar. She resigned herself to her fate, believing there was no place left for her. But just as she gave up all hope, a powerful voice tore through the night, desperately screaming her name. The door splinters open and Shuen rushes in, his face a mask of terror. He cups Hina's face, desperately asking if she's okay. She can only manage a single, shivering word. Cold. Realization dawns on Shuen, and his fear quickly turns to pure rage. Someone without flame power was left here to perish. He recognizes the trick lock on the door. This room was a prison from his childhood, built to suppress flame abilities. But he's not a child anymore. His power has grown strong enough to burn it all to ash. Shuen realized his intense flames would be too much for Hina's weak body. They just had to last until morning when help would arrive. With no other choice, he decided on a desperate form of first aid. The only way to save her was with direct body heat. He pulled her shivering frame close, telling her she had to endure it whether she liked it or not. Surrounded by a warm, protective glow, he held her tight, promising he would warm her up himself and keep her safe from the biting cold. Barely conscious, Hina weakly asks if he really came for her. Shuen cuts her off, scolding her for disappearing without telling her husband. He pushes aside any further talk for later, his only focus on her survival. As his body heat envelopes her, she feels the comforting warmth and realizes she isn't alone anymore. But this moment of relief is fleeting. She forces herself to remember that Shuen has a fiancé. This closeness is just a rescue, nothing more. She is only his temporary wife, a fact she cannot afford to forget. The Princess Shrine Maiden sat alone, staring out at the vast, starry sky as she wondered why. Suddenly, her peaceful thoughts were shattered by a painful, crimson-soaked vision. Tears welled in her eyes as she screamed out for Lord Aoba, desperately questioning why he would leave her all alone. In her heart, she felt like she was drowning, sinking into a dark abyss. She reached out, grasping for nothing, her pained cries trailing off into a hopeless silence as despair consumed her. A comforting warmth envelopes Hina as she rests against Shuen. Suddenly, his men burst in, panicked but relieved to find their lord. They announce that the entire residence has been searched and the suspicious lady-in-waiting responsible has been caught. Shuen's voice turns cold as he delivers a chilling order. She is to be detained in thin clothing until winter arrives. His men quickly accept the command, before adding that an important guest, the Princess Shrine Maiden, is waiting to speak with him. A new complication has arrived. Lady Kaname approaches Shuen, apologizing for her early arrival. She confesses that despite the inconvenience, she simply had to see him. Shuen smoothly replies that it's no trouble, claiming he wanted to see her too. As she reaches for his face, he gently takes her wrist, stopping her. A flustered Kaname apologizes, acknowledging their forbidden relationship. But Shuen cuts her off. He declares he doesn't want a hidden affair before dropping an absolute bombshell. He suggests they both get divorced from their current partners and officially get married to each other. Shuen's father tells Lady Kaname that while it may seem sudden, he's truly happy she is his betrothed. Overjoyed, She listens as he explains that once negotiations are over, their kingdoms will be at peace. She promises to wait for him. As he walks away, a strange vision grips her. Her hand seems to dissolve into a dark, bubbly void before returning to normal in a flash of light. A wide, crazed smile spreads across her face as she laughs manically, screaming that her power has finally returned. Lady Kaname scoffs at the thought of flattering Shuen's father, revealing it's all a desperate act. This is because of a terrible curse placed on her 1 year ago. During a mission with her beloved Lord Aoba, they were attacked by a female demon. Kaname vowed to protect Aoba with her life. The demon, mocking her foolish love, decided to test it. She cursed Kaname with a cruel fate. If she ever loses her true love, her entire body will dissolve into foam, disappearing forever. Lady Kaname reminisces about how Lord Aoba's love once made her feel so secure she forgot all about the curse. But that's ancient history. Ever since she framed Hina, Aoba's affection has completely vanished, and the curse's effects are starting to show. With her own body on the line, she decides she's found a replacement. A sinister energy radiates from her as she vows to survive by stealing Shuen's true love from Hina, no matter what it takes. Her twisted new game has officially begun. Hina plays it cool during another alliance meeting with Shuen, but she can't shake the suspicion. Their situation looks weird to any outsider. Then, a thought hits her. If this whole thing pushes Shuen to marry Lady Kaname, her old crush Aoba will finally be free. Just as she decides it's for the best, an attendant interrupts, summoning Shuen to an urgent meeting. Bad news awaits. A massive swarm of water attribute monitor lizards is overrunning the north, and Shuen's father confirms their fire magic is completely useless against the beasts. Hina instantly recognizes this disaster. It's a major subjugation event from the later stages of the otome game. Just as she processes this, Lady Kaname and Aoba arrive. Hearing their allies are in trouble, Kaname offers the help of her nation's water-controlling army. Shuen's father gratefully accepts their aid. Hina glances at Shuen, who seems completely unfazed, as if he knew they'd come all along. Watching her rivals unite, Hina makes a sudden decision. She nervously declares that she will join the mission too. Hina is certain her inside knowledge of the game event will be a huge help. To her surprise, Shuen agrees, admitting her swimming skills could be useful. But before she can celebrate, Aoba flatly objects. He argues that since Hina has no powers, she's just a liability who can't defend herself. Shuen instantly fires back, asserting that it's his right as her husband to decide. Aoba concedes, but with a condition. Hina must stay by his side for protection. While Hina is thrilled, Shuen's dark glare says it all. With a plan set, Shuen's father declares the joint operation will commence. The allied forces are to depart at dawn to subjugate the magical beasts. Lady Kaname tells everyone to prepare quickly, giving a sideways glance as she and Aoba leave together. Hina watches them go, then turns to Shuen, suggesting they should also get ready. But as she turns to leave, Shuen's hand darts out, grabbing her wrist with a firm grip. He leans in close, his intense gaze locking onto hers. He demands to know if she's happy that she'll be alone with Aoba. Hina is stunned, completely blindsided by his sharp, jealous question. Shuen's voice is low as he admits he was the one who wanted to protect her. Suddenly, he yanks her into a harsh embrace, his power flaring around them. He leans in close, leaving a sharp, possessive mark on her shoulder that makes her gasp. He pulls back, his crimson eyes burning into hers. Shuen declares that he doesn't care who she has feelings for. But she must never forget one thing. Right now, she is his wife. Hina stands frozen, completely stunned by his intense claim. As the group rides out, a heavy silence hangs between Hina and Shuen. She still feels the sting from his possessive mark, realizing it was a public warning. In a nation where everyone suspects she's a spy, his claim was absolute. As the group rides out, a heavy silence hangs between Hina and Shuen. She still feels the sting from his possessive mark, realizing it was a public warning. In a nation where everyone suspects she's a spy, his claim was absolute. Her thoughts are shattered when a massive reptilian beast erupts from the water with a ferocious roar. Before Hina can even scream, Aoba moves to shield her, drawing his bow. A shimmering arrow of pure energy materializes, aimed directly at the creature's head, ready to fly. Aoba's glowing arrow slams into the beast's skull, stopping its charge instantly. He holds Hina close as she thanks him for the save. But from a distance, Shuen's crimson eyes burn with cold fury as he watches them together. Hina catches his jealous gaze and panics, forcing herself to remain composed. She reminds herself that to Aoba, she is just the enemy general's wife. She must focus on the mission, because she knows a terrible secret. If this event fails, one of the main characters is fated to perish. For the next 2 days, the journey is surprisingly peaceful. The soldiers notice the lack of monster attacks, whispering that the charm Hina tied to her horse must be keeping them safe. As evening falls, Shuen commands everyone to make camp. He warns them to be prepared. Tomorrow they enter the giant lizard habitat. Later, one of his men approaches Hina, thanking her for the charm's protection. He then asks what kind of plant she used to make it, catching her completely off guard. Caught off guard, Hina quickly recalls a passage from a book. She explains that grinding local mountain grapes into the horse's feed creates a scent that magical beasts despise. Before the soldiers can fully process this, Lady Kaname appears. She praises Hina for her efforts, but then reveals that she has also been offering daily prayers for their protection. The soldiers are floored, suddenly realizing that their peaceful journey wasn't thanks to Hina's clever trick, but to the powerful sacred prayers being performed on their behalf. The soldiers' gratitude quickly curdles into suspicion. They whisper among themselves, accusing Hina of trying to steal credit from the noble lady. Panicked, Hina can't find the words to defend herself. Lady Kaname approaches with a fake, friendly smile, suggesting they work together for the mission's success. But then, she leans in close, her sweet facade dropping completely. She venomously reminds Hina that no matter where she goes, she will always be a traitor and a criminal. The threat leaves Hina stumbling backward, utterly silenced and shaken. Heartbroken by Lady Kaname's cruel words, Hina wanders away from camp. She clutches the charm she made, realizing that no matter what she does, she'll never be trusted by these people. From a distance, Shuen silently watches her leave, his expression unreadable. Hina soon finds herself at a clearing overlooking a lake as the sun begins to set. The breathtaking sight stops her in her tracks. Completely mesmerized by the vibrant sky, she whispers aloud how beautiful it is, finding a small moment of peace in her despair. As Hina gazes at the lake, she reflects on its meaning. To the Fire Nation, water is a symbol of fear, but to her, it's a sacred and beautiful place. Memories of her past life as a diver give her strength. Suddenly, Shuen's voice cuts through her thoughts. He says he saw her leave the camp and knows she's been trying her best for everyone. He calmly states there must have been a misunderstanding. Stunned, Hina asks with tear-filled eyes if he really believes her. Without a moment's hesitation, Shuen looks at her and says yes. Hina urgently warns Shuen to be careful around Lady Kaname. When he asks what she means, Hina explains that the noble lady has a terrifying purification power that can control people's hearts. She points out how the soldiers' attitudes flipped against her the moment Kaname spoke. With dawning horror, Hina realizes this same power must be what changed the once gentle Lord Aoba. Meanwhile, a smirking Lady Kaname secretly vows that Shuen will never be purified, as she has her own twisted plans for him. Shuen suddenly shuts Hina down, telling her she trusts Lord Aoba too much. He questions her wild theory about Lady Kaname controlling people with purification. He acknowledges Hina's efforts to help his soldiers, but reminds her that Kaname has been praying for them, too. Since Hina is from the enemy Water Kingdom, he says it's only natural his soldiers don't trust her. Utterly defeated, Hina apologizes and says she just needs to clear her head. Inside, her heart breaks. She had truly hoped Shuen, of all people, would believe her. Heartbroken, Hina questions why she ever let herself hope. Sitting alone under the stars, she feels there's no place for her in this world. Just then, Lord Aoba suddenly appears before her with a grim expression. Meanwhile, back at the camp, Lady Kaname sees her opportunity. She slips into Shuen's private tent as he rests. Whispering his name, she moves over him with a triumphant look, her intentions to claim him crystal clear. Shuen remains completely still as black feathers drift down around them. A few hours earlier, Shuen rests alone in his tent, his mind occupied with Hina's absence. Suddenly, his eyes snap open. Lady Kaname has silently slipped inside. With a look of pure triumph, she advances on him as dark feathers drift through the air. She moves onto his bed, leaning over his still form and whispering his name. Getting closer, she boldly asks to stay with him for the night. Her plan to claim the general for herself is now in motion. Shuen's hand suddenly stops Lady Kaname's advance. He calmly tells her he appreciates her feelings, but he won't act on mere desire. Politely but firmly, he gets up, grabs a lantern, and says he will see her out. With her plan completely foiled, Kaname has no choice but to leave. From the shadows, Shuen watches her go, his eyes filled with suspicion. He questions her hasty actions before turning away with a new, unshakable resolve. Dismissing his suspicions about Lady Kaname, Shuen realizes he needs to find Hina. He steps out into the moonlit forest, but his search is cut short. He freezes, his eyes locking onto Hina standing with his rival, Lord Aoba. Fury flashes in Shuen's eyes as he confronts the man, demanding to know why he is with his wife. Aoba calmly explains Hina was accompanying him, but Shuen retorts that they aren't marching. Sensing the dangerous tension, Aoba excuses himself, leaving the two alone in the suffocating silence. Hina finally breaks the heavy silence, apologizing for being late. Avoiding Shuen's intense gaze, she quickly claims she's tired and needs to rest. With a simple good night, she turns and walks away, leaving him alone in the woods as his crimson eyes follow her every move. The next day, their journey continues on horseback. When Shuen calls for a break, Hina sits alone, completely exhausted. Suddenly, the princess shrine maiden approaches, calling her by her maiden name and noting how tired she looks. The princess's sudden interest catches Hina off guard. The princess shrine maiden leans in, mentioning Lady Kaname before dropping a bombshell. Shuen visited her tent last night. With a sly grin, she claims Hina's husband seems quite taken with her. Hina flinches, but the princess isn't finished. She coldly warns Hina not to get in her way, revealing that she asked Lord Aoba to keep Hina occupied for the entire journey. As Hina's eyes widen in horrified realization, the princess scoffs, calling her a foolish girl. She confirms that Aoba's kindness was just a calculated part of her scheme. The princess sneered, cruelly asking if Hina ever truly thought he loved her. Stunned, Hina shot back that the princess already had Shuen's attention and desperately pleaded for her to release Aoba from her manipulative games. The princess flatly refused. With a twisted smile, she called Hina a thief who steals what is hers, declaring she owed her nothing. Completely shattered, Hina collapsed as the princess walked away, leaving her broken in the forest. Hina could only whisper Lady Kaname's name, wondering why she could be so cruel. As the journey continues, Shuen's sharp gaze scans the treacherous path ahead, a dense forest on one side and a deep stream on the other. He instantly recognizes the danger of their position. Before he can order everyone to speed up, the water violently erupts. Massive, lizard-like monsters burst from the stream, throwing the horses into a panic. With his eyes wide in alarm, Shuen spins around and bellows a single, urgent command at the top of his lungs, telling everyone to get down right now. As chaos erupts, Aoba springs into action, pulling back his bowstring. He unleashes a volley of magical water arrows, which flawlessly find their targets and pierce through the attacking monsters. From the safety of her carriage, the princess shrine maiden performs a ritual. She whispers a two-faced blessing, calling for the water's protection on her beloved Aoba while simultaneously wishing its wrath upon her intended child. In the heart of the battle, Shuen's sword bursts into flames as he charges forward, meeting the watery beasts with a fiery slash. Aoba culls Hina behind him, realizing with a start that the water-filled air is making Shuen's flame attacks useless. At that moment, another monster crashes through the trees, lunging directly for Hina. But before its jaws can close, Shuen appears in a flash of fire. He shoves his blazing sword straight into the beast's mouth, stopping its attack cold. As he struggles to hold the massive creature back, he recognizes this isn't just another lizard. He's face-to-face with their boss, and his power is being snuffed out. The boss monster overpowers Shuen, wrapping its powerful tail around his body and yanking him off his feet. With a frustrated growl, he knows there's only one way to fight this thing. He has to take it on in its own territory. Without another choice, the beast drags him into the deep stream with immense force, sending a massive column of water into the air. Hina watches in absolute horror, her eyes wide with fear. She screams his name as he vanishes completely beneath the dark, churning surface. A violent explosion of water marks the spot where Shuen vanished beneath the surface. Hina screams his name in pure terror, lunging toward the raging river. Just before she can dive in, Aoba seizes her from behind, holding her back from certain danger. She struggles against his firm grip, desperately pleading with him to let her go. But her pleas are useless. Her eyes remain fixed on the churning water. Later, at the encampment, the grim results of the battle are clear as soldiers scramble to treat the wounded with dwindling supplies. Lady Kaname rushes to Aoba's side, relieved to find him safe. The moment is shattered when an elder demands Hina explain where Shuen is. A soldier gives the grim report. The general was pulled into the river by the monster and never resurfaced. As shock spreads through the camp, Hina falls to her knees. She bows low, begging Aoba and Lady Kaname to use their water abilities to search for him. Crushed by guilt, Hina recalls a voice telling her this was her fault for being so powerless, unable to help. Aoba coldly rejects her plea, declaring that the Flame Nation should be responsible for its own general. Hina freezes, realizing she can't reveal that Lady Kaname is Shuen's fiancé without causing total chaos. Crushed by guilt, she believes this is all her fault. Just as despair takes over, a memory of Shuen's voice cuts through her thoughts. He was the only one who ever acknowledged her unique swimming skills. Wiping her tears, Hina finds a new resolve. Crying won't save him, but she knows what will. As Hina recalls her unique swimming skills and game knowledge, a new plan forms. Meanwhile, Lady Kaname, hidden inside a tent, clutches her chest in terror. A dark memory flashes in her mind, a demon's curse. If her true love is lost, her body will dissolve into bubbles. That true love is Shuen. Furious at the thought of him dying, her objective suddenly shifts. She realizes she can no longer rely on Shuen and becomes hellbent on winning back Lord Aoba's affection instead. This changes everything. Hina wastes no time, gathering crucial items for her rescue mission. She finds a flame stone for warmth, a breath bloom to breathe underwater, and moon-eye grass to see in the dark. Her plan formed hours earlier when she studied a map and noticed a mountain stream that disappeared. She deduced it flowed underground, a theory confirmed when she realized the location perfectly matched the lake ice region's secret waterway from the game. With her supplies ready and her destination clear, Hina prepares to dive into the treacherous waters to find Shuen. Hina steels her nerves at the water's edge, certain that Shuen washed up in the underground passage. She has to believe it. Though fear creeps in, her resolve to save him is stronger. Just as she prepares to plunge into the icy depths, Aoba's voice stops her cold. He asks where she's going. Hina boldly declares her mission, but Aoba warns her that the general is likely gone. She cuts him off, her voice ringing with certainty, insisting that Shuen is alive. Stunned by her conviction, Aoba makes a shocking choice. He'll go with her. Aoba declares that he's coming along, shocking Hina. He explains it's his responsibility, a promise he made to Shuen to protect her. Before the argument can escalate, the princess shrine maiden appears. She cuts Aoba off, sharply reminding him that his true duty is to lead the army in Shuen's absence. Thinking fast, Hina proposes a compromise. Instead of following her, she urges Aoba to go to the village at the mountain's foot. She theorizes that the underground waterway will eventually surface there, creating a crucial rendezvous point if something goes wrong. Hina tells Aoba that if she fails, their bodies will likely wash up at the village. Aoba grimly accepts her plan, promising to be the one to retrieve her. With their dark pact made, Hina doesn't hesitate for a second. She leaps into the icy water, channeling her past life as a professional scuba diver. Deep beneath the surface, she uses the breath bloom, granting herself 5 minutes of precious air. The moon-eye grass illuminates the dark, cavernous passage ahead as she pushes forward, her mind focused on one thing: finding Shuen. The flame stone keeps Hina's body moving despite the crushing cold, but her time is running out. With her lungs screaming for air, she pushes toward the surface with a final, desperate kick. She breaks through, gasping for breath, and finds herself in a massive, glowing cavern. She recognizes it instantly. This is the underground waterway from the game. Her gamble paid off. Her eyes frantically scan the grotto until they land on an unmoving figure at the water's edge. It's Shuen. A wave of relief and terror washes over her as she cries out his name. Hina rushes to Shuen's side, lifting his head from the ground. Her fingers tremble as she presses them to his neck, feeling for a pulse. A faint, steady thump meets her touch. He's alive. The relief is overwhelming, but it quickly turns to dread. His skin is ice cold, and his pulse is dangerously weak. She realizes she must warm him up immediately, but her heart sinks when she discovers the flame stone is gone, likely lost in the water. With no other option, she whispers an apology as she begins to remove her own soaking clothes. With no time to waste, Hina whispers an apology to the unconscious Shuen. Her hands move to his robes, pulling the cold, wet fabric away from his skin. She knows he would despise this kind of vulnerability, this forced closeness. But her determination is absolute. She will save him, no matter what. Casting her own soaked clothes aside, she wraps her arms around his freezing torso, pressing her own body against his. Holding him tight, she desperately begs him to wake up, channeling all her remaining warmth into him. A soft groan escapes Shuen as his crimson eyes flutter open. His gaze lands on Hina, huddled against his bare chest, her warmth chasing away the deep cold. Relief washes over him, overriding any surprise. He murmurs her name, confirming that she's safe. For Hina, the memory of her sheer terror is still fresh. She couldn't bear the thought of losing him. His gentle touch brings her back to the present. Looking down at the exhausted woman in his arms, Shuen quietly admits that she has saved him once again. As Hina sleeps, Shuen gently strokes her hair. His mind flashes back to the moment he saw her with his rival, Aoba. He remembers his sharp, possessive questions, demanding to know why his wife was with another man. At the time, he was driven by anger and confusion. But now, watching her peaceful face, a profound realization hits him. It was never just about pride or ownership. Leaning closer, Shuen finally understands the true, complicated nature of his feelings for Hina, a revelation that will change everything between them. Relief floods through Hina as Shuen finally opens his eyes. He quietly thanks her, admitting that she's the only reason he's still alive. The reality of their close, unclothed situation suddenly hits Hina, making her blush. She tries to convince herself it's fine, but Shuen's intense gaze makes her skin tingle, breaking the heavy silence. He looks away. He explains that according to an old book, they are in a secret underground waterway. This entire passage, he reveals, was constructed by the very first Flame King. Shuen explains that this waterway was once a sacred place for the royal family, but Hina notes it seems abandoned now. He reveals its true purpose. Deep within, a sacred relic is hidden. This artifact, he says, can multiply the power of flame many times over. Suddenly, Hina is struck by a vivid vision of a woman who looks just like her, vowing to obtain that power to win the beast's subjugation. Stunned by the revelation, Hina sees the relic is just a short swim away. Filled with a new sense of purpose, she tells a surprised Shuen they have to go. As Hina gets ready, she notices Shuen is frozen at the water's edge. A realization dawns on her. She's never seen the fearsome general get into water on his own. He looks like a scared child. Understanding his people's instinctive fear, Hina wades in and holds out her hands. She reassures him that the water isn't his enemy. She tells him that if he can't bring himself to trust the water, he should trust her instead. But his mind flashes with old warnings, the deep-seated belief that trust is for fools. Shuen's mind flashes back to a lesson from his father, who once confessed he almost became a fool by refusing to trust wise counsel. The memory strikes a chord. Looking down at Hina's outstretched hands, he realizes he's facing the same choice. He grabs her hand tightly, his resolve hardening. With a fierce look, he declares that he trusts his mermaid princess. He follows her into the deep water. Using a special herb to breathe, they hold hands and swim together, venturing further into the ancient, glowing passage to find the relic. Their peaceful swim is shattered when a monstrous shape emerges from the dark. A massive water beast with glowing red eyes lunges right at them. Hina instantly recognizes them as monitor lizards. Without a second's hesitation, Shuen yanks her behind him, shielding her from the attack. The sudden chaos triggers a rock slide, and Hina's foot gets trapped in the rubble. Panicked, she realizes their breathing herbs are failing. If they don't escape soon, Shuen will run out of air, and they'll be stuck in the monster's den. Hina frantically tries to free her foot, but the heavy rocks won't budge. While Shuen holds the massive lizard at bay, she watches him, her fear turning into fierce determination. She's sick of always being the one who gets saved. Seeing him about to run out of air, she realizes this is her chance to save him. In one swift motion, she yanks him down toward her. She presses her lips against his, desperately passing the last of the air from her own breathing herb into his lungs. Shuen's eyes fly open in shock as Hina gives him her last bit of air. Their lips part, and she silently promises that she will come back for him. With no time to spare, she shoves off his chest and swims upward, leaving him behind in the glowing cavern. As she ascends through the water, leaving a trail of bubbles, her mind is filled with a single, fierce thought. She needs him to wait for her. This time, she will be the one doing the saving, and she won't fail. Hina explodes from the water, dragging herself onto the rocky shore and gasping for air. With no time to waste, she sprints through the mystical cavern, her mind racing. She has to hurry back to Shuen. Her desperate search ends when she spots an ancient building in the distance. Relief floods her as she realizes what she's found, the legendary shrine of the Flame Magatama. This powerful artifact is their only hope. Meanwhile, deep below, Shuen waits in the silent dark, his life slowly slipping away. Deep underwater, Shuen is at his absolute limit. His wound bleeds freely, and his lungs are screaming for air now that the herb has worn off. The giant beast looms before him, and he braces for the end. With his last thoughts, he finds peace knowing he was able to let Hina escape. He has no regrets. But then, a figure cuts through the dark water. It's Hina. She's returned for him, a warm light glowing in her hand. Shuen's eyes fly open in disbelief. She actually came back. Hina presents the glowing flame Magatama to a stunned Shuen, a silent promise in her eyes. With no time to waste, she becomes the bait, swimming away to draw the beast's attention. She remembers a critical weakness from the game. These creatures can't resist chasing moving prey. The gamble pays off. The enraged monster ignores the injured Shuen and barrels after her. Hina explodes from the water onto a rocky ledge, the beast erupting right behind her. She knows she's at an overwhelming disadvantage on land, but this was all part of her plan. With a confident grin, Hina declares that she isn't the one the beast will be fighting. Just then, a massive surge of fiery energy erupts from behind her, lighting up the entire cavern. It's Shuen. Empowered by the flame Magatama, he's back on his feet and stronger than ever. He announces that they can finally fight on equal footing. Hina watches in awe as he turns to her, gently placing a hand on her head. He promises to handle the rest, and she agrees without hesitation. With Hina watching in awe, Shuen faces the monster. A wicked grin spreads across his face as he challenges the beast, promising to roast it alive. The creature lets out a ferocious roar and charges forward, but Shuen meets it head-on. Flames erupt around him as his sword becomes a blur of motion, unleashing a furious storm of fiery slashes. In a brilliant flash of light and heat, he completely overwhelms the monster. The intense battle is over in an instant, a testament to his newly restored power. As the dust settles, Hina rushes forward, throwing her arms around Shuen. Overwhelmed with relief, she whispers how thankful she is that he's safe. He holds her tightly, a rare softness in his eyes as he strokes her hair, telling her that their victory was all her doing. Later, a group of officials stumbles upon the scene. They stare in shock at the massive, charred remains of the monitor lizard floating in the water, completely dumbfounded as to who on earth could have possibly managed to defeat the beast. The news of Shuen's survival spreads like wildfire. Back at the manor, Lady Kaname is in total disbelief. She mutters that if the general is truly alive, then something is terribly wrong. Suddenly, a dark, terrifying energy begins to bubble up around her as her hands dissolve into black foam. Outside, a servant announces Lord Shuen's triumphant return. Kaname rushes to see for herself, her eyes wide with terror as she watches him approach, alive and well. Her devious plan has completely backfired. Lady Kaname rushes forward, feigning relief at Shuen's return. But her facade crumbles as she feels her power draining away, realizing her luck in battle is completely gone. Before the cowardly officials who abandoned him, Shuen makes a bold declaration. He announces that he is alive thanks to one person, his wife, Hina. He pulls her close, telling everyone that if they have any gratitude, they should direct it to her. The officials immediately start praising Hina as their savior, while Kaname glares from the crowd, her face a mask of pure fury. A dark corruption spreads across Lady Kaname's skin as her power completely shatters. She stumbles back, horrified by what's happening to her body. Collapsing to the floor, her eyes land on a glowing blue palanquin that has just arrived outside. Inside sits the ever-composed General Aoba. A glimmer of hope flashes in Kaname's desperate eyes. She still has him. Reaching out a trembling, corrupted hand, she weakly begs for Lord Aoba to come and hold her, seeing him as her final salvation. General Aoba holds the collapsing Lady Kaname, but this is no tender moment. Kaname is consumed by absolute fury, silently screaming that after all her hard work, Hina has destroyed everything. Her mind fixates on the maid's face, vowing to never forgive her for this humiliation. Refusing to accept defeat, a twisted resolve hardens her expression. She makes a dark promise to herself. No matter what it takes, she will drag Hina down into despair right alongside her. This fight is far from over. The generals return to a roaring crowd, with Shuen riding a grand horse, Hina seated right behind him. But the celebration is tainted by vicious whispers. The soldiers gossip that the real hero is the Water Kingdom's Princess Shrine Maiden, who prayed tirelessly for their safety. They sneer that Hina is just a mermaid who endangered the general and tried to steal the credit. Suddenly, a furious Fire Nation elder confronts them. He grabs Hina, demanding to know if she deceived Shuen to claim the Shrine Maiden's glory for herself. Before the Fire Nation elder, the court celebrates a huge victory. Shuen's father praises his son for slaying the Great Lizard, declaring the outcome magnificent. But Shuen deflects the honor. He holds up a brilliant flame jewel and gives all the credit to Hina, explaining how her special knowledge led them to the artifact in the hidden waterways. Hina is stunned. He's actually defending her. While a bit of happiness warms her, she can't shake the sadness of being rejected. Noticing her conflicted face, Shuen quietly asks her what's wrong. General Aoba and the Princess Shrine Maiden step forward. The princess makes sure everyone knows that her prayer song was crucial for Shuen's safe return. Playing along, Shuen's father publicly thanks them, stating that the people now see the benefits of an alliance. But Hina isn't fooled. She understands he's just using this to force a harsh treaty on their kingdom. Before she can process the cold political move, Shuen's father turns his sharp gaze on her and his son, announcing he has something important to ask of them. Shuen's father orders a woman named Keiko to be brought forward. Hina's heart sinks as she recognizes the noble lady, one of the original candidates to become Shuen's wife. The elder explains that Nanshu, the nation's breadbasket, is being scorched by a terrible heat wave. Then he drops a bombshell. He asks Hina to perform a sacred soul pacification rite. Hina is utterly shocked. The elder reveals that the shrine is on mystical ground surrounded by water, making it a place only she can reach. Shuen's father reveals he knows all about Hina's legendary swimming skills, calling her the mermaid princess before asking for her aid. Hina wants to help, but she realizes the suffering land of Nanshu is Lady Kanami's homeland. Just as she's processing this, the princess shrine maiden interrupts. She declares that a soul pacification rite is a job for a maiden blessed by water, not a commoner. Hina understands instantly. This is a special event designed for Lady Kaname, officially pulling her into Shuen's story route and threatening to expose her true identity. Hina instantly recognizes the game's storyline kicking in. For Lady Kaname's romance route to progress, she has to go to Nanshu. Believing even Shuen wants this, Hina voices her agreement, suggesting they seek Lady Kaname's help. Shuen's father then orders his son to escort the noble lady. Just as Hina thinks she's dodged a bullet, Lady Kaname makes a bold suggestion. With a sly smile, she asks if Hina, as Shuen's consort, could possibly join them. Hina is left completely stunned, caught in a trap she helped set. Shuen's father smirks, revealing the true nature of this trip. The head of the southern clan wishes to congratulate the general on his marriage. The elder calls it an invitation that even the merfolk cannot decline, locking Hina in. He officially orders her to accompany Lady Kaname to strengthen their political ties. Defeated, Hina has no choice but to agree. Later that night, Kaname laughs maniacally under the full moon. She revels in Hina's suffering, believing Shuen is still her captive, and reveals a sinister miscalculation involving a powerful prayer song. Hina retreats to her secret spring, the weight of the game's plot pressing down on her. She understands now that the heroine's affections have undeniably shifted from Aoba to Shuen, putting the original story back on track. For the sake of peace, she knows she cannot and should not interfere with their fated romance. A bad ending means war, where the people she cares about would turn on each other. Pushing them together is the right choice, but as Hina floats alone in the water, she is crushed by an overwhelming sense of loneliness. A panicked voice cuts through the night, screaming Hina's name. It's Aoba. He found her floating lifelessly in the spring and rushed to her side. Hina, dazed, explains she simply dozed off in the soothing water and apologizes for making him worry. Flustered, Aoba denies any concern and coldly tells her to return to the palace. As he walks away, Hina is suddenly struck by a critical piece of information. In Nanshu, it is common knowledge that Lady Kaname was Lord Shuen's original betrothed, making this trip even more complicated. Hina envisions the ideal ending where Shuen reunites with his original fiancée, Lady Kaname, and Aoba finally regains his freedom. But a horrifying possibility strikes her. What if her very presence is what twisted the once gentle heroine into a monster? If she's the one who broke the story, then she's the one who has to fix it. This might even be the only way to save Kaname from her darkness. Stealing her resolve, Hina makes a vow. She will force the true ending to happen, no matter the personal cost. Their journey continued across a barren wasteland, the sun beating down without mercy. Hina stared at the desolate landscape, realizing with a heavy heart that the suffering was far worse than she remembered from the game. Her thoughts were shattered when a small, weak child collapsed onto the cracked earth. The princess shrine maiden immediately dismounted and gently lifted the boy. She told Shuen he was from the orphanage ahead, and that she would take him there. Lady Kaname quickly offered to go too, and Hina, not to be left behind, insisted she would come along as well. Suddenly, Lady Kaname falters, her body slumping forward from the relentless sun. Shuen whips around just in time, catching her before she hits the dirt. He calls her name, his voice laced with panic as Hina realizes the noble has heatstroke. The princess shrine maiden quickly takes charge, telling Shuen to take Kaname and head for the castle immediately. She assures him that she and Hina will be safe. After a tense moment, Shuen agrees, carrying his original fiancée away while the others watch them disappear into the distance. Upon arriving, Hina is immediately swarmed by a crowd of ecstatic children. They rush towards her, joyfully shouting her name and celebrating her return. Hina is utterly bewildered. This is her first time ever setting foot in this place, so how could they possibly know who she is? An elderly woman then approaches with a gentle smile, welcoming her back. She reveals a shocking truth. This is the Hina orphanage, a place that bears her name. Hina's mind races. Her real name was Ina. Just who is this Hina they all adore? The elderly woman leads Hina to a small hermitage, explaining it's been left exactly as it was. As Hina steps inside, a strange wave of nostalgia washes over her. The room feels incredibly comforting and familiar, despite her having no memory of it. Spotting a small chest, she opens it to find a letter and an ornate red comb. Her eyes widen when she sees Shuen's name on the letter. A sudden memory flashes in her mind. It was a birthday gift from him. Shocked, she fumbles, dropping the comb to the floor. A powerful wave of memories crashes over Hina, dragging her back in time. 2 years ago, she wasn't a maid. She was Princess Hina of Nanshu, the most prominent princess in the Land of Flame and Shuen's fiancée. This princess, the original reincarnator, had worked tirelessly to change the villainous hero from the game. She fondly recalls him giving her the handmade comb, a tender gift that proved he had matured. Her forgotten past as Shuen's betrothed comes rushing back, leaving her completely stunned. The memories crash over Hina. As the princess, she once hated being the villain's fiancée. But Shuen's kindness began to change her mind, making her believe a marriage could work. Determined to prevent war, she traveled to the Water Kingdom, where Lord Aoba permitted her to stay as a maid. But her plan hit a wall almost immediately. The fiercely jealous princess Shrine Maiden saw her and exploded with rage, sneering that Hina was just a backwater peasant who belonged in the cold, far away from the warmth of nobility. The memory of the Princess Shrine Maiden's furious curse echoes in Hina's mind, a wish for her to forget her own name. The fake story crumbles away, the lie that she was just a village girl taken in by Lord Aoba. Now, she remembers everything. She was the first princess, Shuen's one and only betrothed. Hina realizes Lady Kanami's power was used to forcibly rewrite her past. As the tidal wave of memory subsides, a deep voice cuts through the silence. She turns, her eyes wide, to see Shuen standing right there. Shuen's voice cuts through her thoughts. He asks what's wrong, explaining he came to get her since she was taking so long. Overwhelmed, Hina can barely look at him as her feelings overflow. The truth crashes down. She was the betrothed he'd been searching for this whole time. But she knows she can't say a word. Telling him would mean exposing Lady Kanami's lies. She can't bear the thought of him turning on her again. If he accused her of insulting Kaname, her heart would completely shatter. With Shuen standing right there, Hina tries to calm her racing heart. She tells herself there's nothing to worry about. Once she reaches the castle, her family will welcome her home. Memories of her parents, her little brothers, and the kind servants flash through her mind. She misses them all terribly. In that moment, something inside her snaps. She can't wait any longer. Hina suddenly sprints forward, bursting through the main gates and joyfully announcing her return. Her sudden appearance leaves Shuen's father completely shocked. Shuen's father stares in disbelief, asking if the first princess has truly come home. With tears of joy streaming down her face, Hina confirms that she has returned to him. But this perfect family reunion is a cruel illusion. A memory flashes of the real princess surrounded by her loving family, a happy moment now tainted by Lady Kanami's sinister smirk. The vision shatters. Back in reality, Hina is frozen in pure terror as shadowy tendrils of dark energy begin to coil around her. She didn't run home. She ran straight into a trap. Hina's mind reels in utter confusion. She thought she was the first princess, but a twisted memory surfaces, her happy family, with Lady Kaname smirking sinisterly among them. Nothing makes any sense. In the grand dining hall, an older woman joyfully declares that the princess has finally returned to them. She explains that everyone in the castle was convinced after witnessing a divine prayer song performance. A vision of the pink-haired princess flashes, and the horrifying truth crashes down on Hina. The returned princess is an imposter. The devastating truth hits Hina like a tidal wave. It was all Lady Kanami's twisted plan. She used a powerful prayer song to rewrite everyone's memories, making them believe a lie. Just moments ago, they all thought Hina was the returning princess. Now that identity has been ripped away and given to an imposter. Making things worse, the fake princess steals Hina's story, claiming Aoba saved her. As she gazes at Shuen, he takes her hand, completely deceived. He calls her princess, leaving the real Hina to watch in silent despair. An old woman comforts the fake princess, telling her it must have been difficult because she and Shuen shared a mutual love. But that's Hina's story. Her mind screams in agony. The imposter is stealing her life right in front of her. As Hina walks away, a young man muses aloud that this must be why Shuen was so close to the Shrine Maiden. Seeing Hina's pained silence, he assumes the worst. He furiously accuses her of knowing the truth the entire time and deceiving them all. Now she's not just forgotten, she's a liar. The man's words cut deep. He can't believe he ever trusted her. Hina collapses in despair, knowing arguing is useless against their rewritten memories. She feels her entire existence starting to fade away. Just as she loses all hope, 2 older maids call out her name. They're overjoyed, explaining their confusion when everyone kept speaking of a name they didn't recognize. A memory flashes in Hina's mind. These women took care of her as a child. In a world that has forgotten her, these two still remember. Tears of pure relief stream down Hina's face as she realizes the two maids remember her. They pull her into a warm, reassuring hug, and for a fleeting moment, she isn't alone. But this shred of hope is instantly ripped away. A dark, corrupting energy snakes through the air, originating from the cruel Lady Kaname. The precious memory of the maids caring for her begins to glitch and shatter. Hina watches in horror as their minds are wiped clean. The terrifying thought strikes her. What if she's next? What if her own memories are erased too? Hina's world glitches, her very being threatening to shatter into nothing. A strange prayer song fills the air, a melody designed to erase her mind. She sprints away, knowing she can't listen. But then she stops herself, causing a scene would just play into Lady Kaname's hands and make her look even guiltier. Cornered and desperate, she doesn't know what to do. Suddenly, Aoba appears, grabbing her arm. Sobbing, she asks for his help. He looks at her intently, revealing a critical piece of information. The first princess is not who everyone thinks she is. Just as Aoba reveals the shocking truth, a powerful hand yanks Hina away from him. It's Shuen, his crimson eyes burning with an unspoken intensity. Stepping between them, he coldly asks Aoba to pardon his wife before leading her away. As they walk under the moonlight, Shuen's grip on her hand tightens. He reminds her of her place, stating firmly that she is his wife and shouldn't get so close to other men. Hina is left utterly speechless, confused by this sudden and unexpected display of possessiveness from her husband. Hina's mind spins with confusion. She knows Shuen is meant to be with Lady Kaname, so his possessiveness is baffling. Trying to de-escalate, she reassures him that she has no special relationship with Aoba and promises not to bring shame to his name. But when she mentions the obvious connection between Shuen and Kaname, something snaps. He yanks her into a fierce embrace, his eyes burning with a dark fire. Before Hina can even process what's happening, he leans in and sinks his teeth into her shoulder, leaving a painful, possessive mark. Hina cries out, begging him to stop as pain shoots through her shoulder. Ignoring her pleas, Shuen's voice is a low command. As his wife, she will stay within his sight, right by his side. Tears stream down her face as she calls him an idiot, confused why he's doing this when he likes Lady Kaname. She tells him she hates him, but the most painful truth is the one she admits only to herself. A small, treacherous part of her finds joy in his possessiveness, and she despises herself for it. Shuen's fierce grip suddenly softens into a gentle embrace. He leans in, whispering a quiet apology and asking for more time. He insists there's something important he needs to figure out. Elsewhere, watching the same moon, the cunning princess shrine maiden lets out a sly giggle. She muses on how wonderful it is to be filled with everyone's love. Reaching out her hand, she impatiently waits for Lord Shuen to give his answer, her hidden scheme now in full motion. The next morning, Hina wakes up alone. She realizes with a heavy heart that Shuen never returned to their room after their intense confrontation. Trying to carry on as usual, she steps outside and greets the other maids, asking for a simple cup of water. But the way they exchange nervous glances and quickly look away speaks volumes. In their pitying stares, Hina understands her new reality. She's not just the general's wife. She's the center of the household's juiciest gossip. The maid's vicious whispers hit Hina like a slap. They sneer that she's the woman who stole Lord Shuen from the princess, even though everyone knew they were in love. Hina flinches, instantly regretting her decision to leave her room. Just as she turns to flee, a gentle stream of water magically fills her cup. She looks up to find Lord Aoba, a kind face in a hostile world. After a quiet thank you, she gazes into the water, accepting a painful truth. She believes her place in everyone's hearts has been completely taken by Lady Kaname. Overwhelmed by painful memories, Hina wonders if she's fated to lose everyone, especially now that she finally remembers Shuen. A single tear splashes into the water as she whispers his name, her heart breaking. Aoba watches her break down in stoic silence. But her sadness quickly hardens into fierce resolve. She reminds herself that this was her choice, and giving up now would make it all for nothing. Feeling his kindness through the water, Hina forms a new plan. She will trust in Aoba's good heart and save him from Kaname's manipulative chains. It's the day of the sacred soul-soothing ritual. Everyone gathers at a lakeshore, their eyes fixed on a shrine resting on a small island. One of the elders explains that because of the water, the Fire Nation people are unable to cross and offer their prayers. The princess is reassured that she has nothing to worry about, as she used to visit often. But Hina isn't focused on the ritual. Her thoughts are consumed by Aoba, and a terrifying realization dawns on her. Lady Kaname despises her. Hina knows that begging Lady Kaname to free Aoba is useless. The cold-hearted noble would never listen to her. But then, a daring plan sparks in her mind. She might not be able to beg, but she can negotiate. Hina possesses the one thing Kaname covets more than anything, the title of Lord Shuen's wife. As she considers offering up her position, Kaname herself approaches. With a sly smile, she tells Hina they need to talk, her expression hinting at a private conversation she had with Shuen the night before. The conversation Kaname mentioned happened the previous night. She cornered Shuen under the moonlight, begging him to choose her over Hina. But Shuen was firm. Grabbing her arm, he told her she was being too hasty. Hina was his wife now, and he couldn't just get rid of her without a valid reason. A dark look crossed Kaname's face. She understood. With a sinister smile, she promised to give him the perfect reason he needed to cast Hina aside. And now, she stands before Hina, ready to make it happen. Lady Kaname throws down the gauntlet, challenging Hina to a public contest. The stakes are sky-high. If Kaname wins, Hina must divorce Lord Shuen. Hina's mind races. This is her chance to be free, just like she wanted. But she can't back down now or nothing will change. Before she can answer, Kaname leans in close with a sinister smile. She reveals the whole thing is just for show. She has already been promised to Shuen once the political alliance is settled, and this contest is just the perfect excuse to finally cast Hina aside. The princess dangles Aoba's freedom like a puppet on a string, a horrifying vision that makes Hina's stomach drop. She offers a twisted deal. If Hina accepts the challenge, she won't force Aoba to do anything against his will. Then, with a sickly sweet smile, she asks if Hina plans to purify Shuen too. Hina flatly refuses. The princess scoffs, claiming purification is useless against true love. Her friendly mask finally shatters, revealing a cruel smirk. She confesses she'd never help Hina because it's just too entertaining to watch her suffer. A cold fury washes over Hina. The princess feels absolutely no guilt for her twisted games. But Hina decides she won't be a pawn any longer. She looks Kaname dead in the eye and makes her own demand. If Hina wins, Kaname must divorce Aoba. With her terms on the table, Hina accepts the challenge. A wicked smile spreads across Kaname's face. The princess announces the contest is now an unbreakable pact before the land god. Asked if they are ready, both Shuen and Aoba agree, a silent trust passing between them. The princess seals the contest, announcing it's now a sacred vow before the gods. With the pact locked in, Hina and Kaname walk barefoot toward the water's edge. A crowd watches with worried expressions, whispering Hina's name. As they approach the shore, Lady Kaname stops, a chilling, confident smile spreading across her face. Surrounded by a dark, thorny energy, she declares that she's about to show everyone what a real mermaid looks like. The showdown has officially begun, and Kaname is ready to crush Hina completely.